And welcome everyone to episode number 104, coming to you live on March 6th, 2012. This is the FTW podcast. Sitting here with me is Joe. Say hello, Joe.
Hello, my bitches.
Rob. Say hello, Rob.
As if Joe has any bitches to brag about.
Did you miss the first episode of the Lion Tamer videos that I did? I got one bitch in the house. My dog that looks like Karma.
Kevin, say hello, Kevin.
What's up?
And I am Garvin. I'm coming out from behind the boards, as Harrison would say. Harrison has the show off. Let's do some quick announcements. We are still looking for some show intros, some numbers to get in contact with us. 313-444-FTW4. That's 313-444-3894. You can leave us voicemails. We love those. You can also leave us audio questions, either through the voicemail line or you can send them to questions@ftwpodcast.com. Remember to include your name and the email that we can get in touch with you if we need to. If you're new to the show, you can check out ftwpodcast.com for more about us and how to get involved in tonight's show, as well as upcoming shows. You can reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, the voicemail, as I said, text message, email. We're pretty much all over the place. So we're going to be bringing in your comments and questions throughout the show. So if you want your voice to be heard, this is your opportunity. Tonight's show, we are live on ftwpodcast.com/live. I already see a few people in the chat. Hello, RKO Voices. Glad to see you back. You can also email us directly at questions@ftwpodcast.com. If you're on Twitter, use hashtag FTWLive. Like I said, we'll be reading those as we move forward. So 2 weeks ago, per the suggestions of our friends and family on Twitter and Facebook, we unveiled our plan to create the FTW Hall of Shame. That elite group will be based on the judgment of us, the fans. The official induction ceremony will take place on Saturday, March 31st. We'll be doing a live WrestleMania 28 pay-per-view special at 3 p.m. on March 31st. The first week, we asked for nominations for Worst Wrestlers. We got names like Khali, Mongo McMichael. I know, Rob, that was your favorite one. David Flair also came in.
No, it wasn't.
Last week, we asked for Worst Managers. Now, these nominations are just that, nominations. They may make it. They may be spared for another year. That will be completely up to you, the people listening to the show tonight, everyone. It's up to you, as we'll be posting a poll in about a week or so, right before the WrestleMania pre-show. So for Worst Managers, the nominations are Harvey Whippleman, Tony Atlas, Missy Hyatt, Simon Dean, AJ, Rosa Mendez, and, of course, another nomination for Rico, because how could you forget about Rico?
I got one more for you guys.
Yeah.
And that is, and I know I'm going to get some heat for this, is the Doctor of Stizile Slick. I just don't remember him doing anything positive for the teams he managed.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe.
I can see that.
Could maybe say the same thing about Uncle Cletus for the Godwins, but he's not on the list.
He could be now.
You know, I think...
And I don't want to hear any arguments about AJ, because what has AJ done besides stand there and looked remotely concerned when Daniel Bryan gets the hell beat out of him?
Well, she's mildly attractive.
Anything?
Well, I mean, Daniel Bryan still hasn't said he loves her, so maybe that's her hesitation.
There's a lot of tension there, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe she just needs a good roll in the hay.
Ooh.
Giggity, 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 goo.
All right, so, yeah, again, Rob, was there any that you wanted to add here?
No, for managers, I think the list pretty much covers everything that I could think of.
Okay. Well, you can still send in nominations, as we'll be accepting those for another week. We're also accepting nominations for Worst Wrestlers. However, this week, we've got a new wing to the Hall of Shame that we're announcing, and that is for staff. This wing, we need you to send in your list of the worst staff members in the history of wrestling. That includes owners, general managers, writers, commentators, regardless if they were on camera or off camera, basically the people who make the product work or, in this case, not work. You can tweet those to us, put them in the live chat, or post it on Facebook. By the way, the live chat is saying you can't really call AJ a manager. She's more like a valet.
Funny you mentioned that because I discussed that technicality before the show, but I disagree. I'm still throwing it in that category.
Yeah, we could upgrade it to managers and valets, but then that opens a whole other floodgate. We'd have to revisit it. That can be an addition for next year, I think, is to add the valets.
But I don't get what the difference is.
Well, a manager gives expertise. A valet is just eye candy.
Yeah, a manager.
But valet still gets in the way sometimes. Helps win the match.
A manager is supposed to help you win the match, either
I
by.
think is a good definition of a manager. Lou Albano. There's another one. I mean, these guys they're the ones who are behind, and they're pushing the guys to go forward, as opposed to, Stacy Keibler when she was with the Dudleys. She wasn't a manager. She was the bimbo who followed them around. And I love you, Stacy. I swear to God, you're still in my top 10. But yeah. There is a difference between a valet and a manager, even though the line is thin.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I don't really see a whole lot of difference, especially in the last 20 years or so. They get involved somehow, and that's basically what the manager is there for, to get involved in some fashion. But anyways, that's semantics. So let's move on to the question of the week from last week, where we asked who won the lumberjack match. If you don't recall, Rob and Kevin battled it out in the lumberjack match to decide whether or not Triple H versus The Undertaker and Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania 28 will be awesome. Before I get into the answers, Rob and Kevin, after you've slept on it for a week, do you guys feel any differently?
No, I really don't. I mean, I find myself hoping that I'm wrong and that these guys will rise to the occasion and turn in a good match, but I think the WWE could be pushing much better younger talent in this place, and I don't see the need for the match, and I'm afraid that it's going to turn out pretty much exactly like I said it would.
Kevin, do you feel any differently after you lost last week?
No. First of all, battled out sometime, Garvin. See who wins.
I love Garvin there.
Of course not. What do you know? End of an era, Hell in a Cell careers. These guys have just defined it sometimes. In that case, no, I don't feel any differently. It was a hell of a battle last week. Look forward to the next one.
The only reason why I say you lost, Kevin, because I mean, personally, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But looking at the live chat, everyone was pretty much saying that it's going to be an awful match. Wolverine X on our YouTube page equated the match to Old Man versus Old Man. So obviously siding with Rob. From the Facebook group, Connor said, I think they will go all out in this match, and chances are they will pull out a few surprises along the way. But no one else was as optimistic. Everyone was pretty much completely against it, unless they did the all out, such as go on top of the cell and either go through the cell or off the cell, which is unlikely. But after last night's Raw, Brian on Facebook, he said, quote, "This should be Triple H versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania." And after watching Raw, which we'll get into a little bit later on, but it seemed like they were more building up towards a future HBK versus Triple H match instead of focusing on what was important, which was Triple H's versus Taker. Did you guys feel the same way? Just real briefly.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's maybe the angle they're going to, and if that's the case, I'm kind of bummed because I don't want another year-long build-up for WrestleMania like they did with Cena, and I also don't want to see HBK come back in the ring, only because he said he fucking retired. If you're retiring, it doesn't mean you're coming back to go work at your old job again.
Yeah, and Joe, I'm right there with you. I feel the exact same way. He lost a retirement match, walk away, it's over. HBK, we love you. We always will. But just, I'm with Joe. I don't want to see it. I think his time has passed. I think it's time to pass the torch. And he needs to walk away.
Yeah, I completely agree with Kevin and Joe here. I think they are putting a little more emphasis on HBK versus Triple H than they are Triple H versus The Undertaker. And, you know, like Kevin just said, when you lose a retirement match, when you say you're retired, stay fucking retired. When you say you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
The live chat is with you. So, all right, let's move on to the next segment, Ask FTW. You can ask us questions by emailing questions at ftwpodcast.com. You can send us a tweet at FTWpodcast. Use the hashtag FTWLive. And also post it on our Facebook wall. We received a question from Dead Status on Twitter. He asked, could the WrestleMania 2 idea work better today? 3 different cards and 3 parts of the world. What do you guys think?
That one's rough. Only because, I don't know. I mean, you could do it, but you've got to have action in every ring at all times. So it really fucks over the fans because they miss matches. So unless you're going to do, let's say it was Detroit, Chicago, and Cincinnati, just to have some fun here. If one match goes on in Detroit, do the others watch a screen and then the next match happens in Chicago and then everybody else watches? I mean, that's
how I would do it. That's how I would do it. I mean, you could easily have like a huge freaking Titantron or something showing fans in Chicago what's going on in Detroit and Cincinnati.
If that was the case, that would piss me off if I bought a ticket. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, okay.
That's exactly what I would get it. I have a feeling that this is actually a really good idea by Dead Status, because I have a feeling if wrestling's around in 20 years, you might see this. But at the end of the day, I think Joe's right. I think you're spending top dollar to go to WrestleMania, and you're not getting to see all the matches. So every blog out there is going to be like, bullshit, I spent $150 on a ticket to be in the 8,000th row of the Sky Dome or whatever, and I didn't even get to see the whole every match. I got to watch some on a screen. But the bottom line is, if it's going to end up being about making money, he brings up a good point. I hope it doesn't happen, but somewhere down the road, he may be right. So that's my 2 cents.
The only argument that I have, because I completely agree with you guys, but the only argument that I can find is one of the things that you notice is that from going from match to match, there's a huge opportunity for them for the crowd to lose energy. You have a kick-ass match with CM Punk and Chris Jericho. The next match, the crowd could very well be dead for, and something like this would give them the opportunity to sit back, relax, get a breather before they see the next match live. So, just throwing it out there. So, all right, let's move on to the next question that we received. We got a request from at Heels Zahir on Twitter to talk about the WrestleMania card. We also got some more WrestleMania talk questions from Greg. We're going to do those a little bit later on tonight. Right now, let's start some TNA conversation. Chris from the Impact Wrestling Facebook group that we're part of, he asked, what's next for Samoa Joe and Magnus? After now they're the tag team champions, what possibly is going to stand in their way, considering the only other viable tag teams was Morgan and Crimson, and they're technically feuding, sort of.
Well, I think what's next is they're going to continue doing what works. I mean, this tag team mentality that Magnus and Samoa Joe have formed is just working beautifully. It's allowing Joe to get back into the Joe's going to kill you mentality. The crowd's starting to do it. Hopefully, we might see some of the other tag teams come back, like Motor City Machine Guns and maybe a couple of other ones, and have Samoa Joe run against that. But after the tag team phase is over, I want to see Samoa Joe get into the world title race.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I'd love to see Samoa Joe in the title race, but they, for whatever reason, have no faith in him right now as a singles wrestler. So I don't think it happens. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it.
You know, I can't wait for Samoa Joe versus ODB in like a 3-month battle. I think EY and ODB is probably the most interesting tag team they've got, only because you've got a woman fighting dudes, like a mixed tag team where they're fighting dudes, and it's okay. That's brilliant. I love it. I want to see. I like the fact that TNA will let women fight guys like that.
Yeah. Well,
it actually shows there can actually be wrestlers as opposed to the skinny sex icons that WWE's pushing out.
Right. I mean, and this is something TNA's been doing for a while. I mean, Daphne, for example, took a black hole slam from Abyss. Awesome Kong had matches against guys. ODB has, I'm right with you, Joe. It sends the message that, hey, women can be professional wrestlers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to go back to Magnus real quick, the live chat, Arcade Voices is saying Joe and Magnus need legit contenders, which is something, we've all said. And really, that's, just illuminating the issues with the tag team divisions across the board.
They should hire London and Kendrick.
Well,
even though they got rid of Kendrick.
They just got rid of Kendrick.
I know that. Bring him back, get him a new contract, maybe less money, because, he needs to work, and bring back London, and they can be fuck-ups together.
But one of the things that could work here for TNA with this hole that they have is a lot of the wrestlers who are still on the roster but not being used, just have them start forming tag teams. You might get some legitimate tag teams. You might get some reformations of old tag teams. There's a lot of things that you could see that I think would make for interesting challengers to Samoa Joe and Magnus.
Yeah, and outside the tag team division, obviously it would be nice to see Magnus being pushed into, say, the television title race, like Rob, like you said. That's also being echoed in the live chat.
TV title, or even X Division. Give Magnus a shot in the X Division too. Sure.
Last question, and let's be real quick on this because it's going to be all speculation. Kim on Facebook, she asked, "What does Daniels possibly have over Kaz?" So prediction time. What do you guys think is the story they're trying to push right now with Kaz and Christopher Daniels?
I'm sorry, Joe. Do you want to go first, or
no? It was just a speculative.
Oh, okay. Personally, I think it's. I think what they're going to run with here is that Daniels is pointing out that AJ Styles is hogging the spotlight. AJ Styles took the spotlight away from Daniels. He'll take the spotlight away from Kazarian and basically pull in you've got a choice, Kaz. Do you want to be in the spotlight? Do you want people to remember that you're one of the original wrestlers of this company too? Or do you just want to be the lackey of AJ Styles?
My speculation is that Daniels caught Kaz in a compromising position with Orlando Jordan.
That's possible. Dee from Facebook, she suggested that maybe Daniels has the fact that Kaz was the suicide character all along and covered for him on his off days. Rudra said Kaz knows that his friendship with AJ got him nowhere, and somewhere he would have been jealous of AJ's success. That one seems more likely and logical. The live chat is hoping that they're not doing a JBL HBK money storyline where Kaz has to do tasks for Daniels because of money.
I don't think that's very likely, just given what we've seen the last couple of weeks with Kazarian becoming more independent and at times shocking Daniels. I mean, Daniels is clearly at times losing control of Kazarian.
Yeah, I really love the idea of them involving the suicide character in this.
That would be awesome.
But because he's been gone for so long, like it feels like about a year now, we haven't seen him. Maybe it's been less, but who knows? But that would be an excellent twist that I would love to see. But okay, Rob, let's just move right into Impact. Talk us through the show. Were there any highlights that you want to bring out?
Yeah, actually, speaking of this issue, I was blown away to see a gauntlet match. I love gauntlet matches. It's a favorite gimmick match of mine, and I love AJ Styles taking on Kazarian and Daniels. And I thought it was really cool the way they did it. Kazarian gets his partner Daniels. Kazarian gets Daniels disqualified, and then he goes on and beats AJ Styles. I think it really pushed the storyline forward. It really has me paying attention and like, okay, what the hell's going on? I mean, it did everything you need a match to do, and of course, it's nice to see AJ giving two of his best friends, Kazarian and Daniels, a giant push like he did. Outside of that, I loved the tag team match, Velvet Sky and Mickie James against Sarita and Angelina Love. They did some good stuff there. It's nice to see Velvet getting involved and getting a push. My question though is where the hell was Winter? And I'm sure Harrison, if he were here, would echo that sentiment.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the main event was freaking awesome. James Storm, Samoa Joe, and Magnus against Bully Ray, Bobby Roode, and Austin Aries. That was just a great main event. There weren't really too many bad matches, if any, that I can think of off the top of my head on Impact. It was a really solid episode.
Yeah, the partnership between Bully Ray, Bobby Roode, and Austin Aries, I was loving it. I think that is a fantastic group if they can get them together. At least Bobby Roode and Austin Aries. Obviously there's the issue with Bully Ray wanting the heavyweight title from Roode, so there probably won't ever be a firm partnership between those two. But definitely seeing Roode and Austin Aries together was a fantastic sight.
Exactly, and the segment that Bully Ray, Bobby Roode, and Austin Aries had with Sting was amazing. That was a great. It's a great way to use Sting because Sting's career in the ring is winding to an end, but he is still amazing on the microphone and can give you a great promo when you need it. And when you put him in the ring with Bully Ray, Bobby Roode, and Austin Aries, it just made for one hell of an entertaining segment. That, of course, set up the main event. So I thought it was a very well done show.
Any complaints that you had?
Not really. I mean, I didn't really care for Zema Ion, Shannon Moore. I personally also did not like the stance that they've got Ion taking, where he doesn't really care about injuring Jesse Sorensen, but it's tempered by the fact that I know it's a work, and at least TNA is trying to make something out of the horrible accident that happened at the pay-per-view. At least they're trying to say, okay, well, since this happened, we might as well try to incorporate this into your character since you're a heel anyways.
Yeah, and that was probably the biggest thing that the internet decided to attack TNA on, was that they pushed that storyline. But, the way I look at it is that, despite the horrible accident that happened, realistically, Jesse Sorensen can come back. He's supposed to make a full recovery. This puts them in a great position to give him a feud once he comes back. And at the same time, you look. I think one of the major problems is that people didn't want to see Jesse Sorensen on TV in that condition. But at the same time, I mean, we saw Stone Cold like that after his accident in the ring, where his career was in danger. We also saw the same thing with Triple H, and it really built those characters as faces that you could relate to, that you want to see succeed and come back.
Yeah.
I think that's the point that people are missing. They're looking at this as TNA exploiting Jesse Sorensen, but really, I think this builds a really beautiful reality-based story.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest complaint I had about Jesse Sorensen before his injury was that he really didn't have a gimmick. You know, he was like generic babyface number one. He had awesome moves. He had, I mean, really great moves and a really solid ring set, but, you know, no real personality. This, I can understand why some people would be upset with it, but but at least with this, you are building rapport between the fans of TNA and Jesse Sorensen. You're giving people a reason to root for this kid.
And you're giving people a reason to boo Zema Iron. I mean,
right.
You got to include that too, because, you know, he's been coming off as this heel, but now he has something to really force fans to make a decision on him, and they're booing him, and it's an actual reaction. You don't always see that in TNA.
Yeah, I mean,
you're seeing that now, though.
You're seeing fans genuinely hate this guy, and they're finally using Taz properly, because Taz's career was ended by a broken neck, and he's injured other people. So it's really great that they're using Taz to drive this home too, and like, hey, you know, I've had my neck broken. I know guys who have broken their neck. It's a hard injury to come back from, and you know, I've injured guys, and you know, I've never. I mean, he's doing a good job of pushing both Sorensen as the babyface and getting people to root for him, and getting people to hate Zema Ion for saying, you know, when I injured guys, you know, I never said that. You would never hear me say anything like, I'm glad I'm injured. I mean, you know, you don't go out there and say you're glad that you're taking some guy's career, some guy's livelihood away from him.
Sure. And Diva Jill is echoing that. She said, you know, Zema Iron really didn't have a character before, and, you know, TNA is taking this tragedy and turning it around very well.
Yeah, I think so. I think TNA is making the best out of a very bad situation.
Sure. All right, let's move on to SmackDown. That was Thursday's Impact. On Friday, we saw SmackDown. Joe, what were the highlights of SmackDown?
I think the big highlight for me was Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton, even though the match went to a count out. It was good to see those two mix it up, in my opinion, because it's giving Daniel Bryan somebody new to go against who's credible. As much as I hate seeing Randy Orton as a face, and I think his work as of late, pre-injury, was very routine. He's a character who lacks a little something as a face. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, do you really think there's any difference between Randy Orton, the face, and Randy Orton, the heel?
I do, because at least when he works as a heel, he can actually work the mic convincingly. It doesn't seem like he's... to me, when he's a face, there's nothing he can say. And a lot of guys will tell you that, we've heard before, that it's harder to work as a face than a heel. And I think Randy suffers from that when he's a face, because it's just, you see the same stuff, like, I'm going to get you because I'm crazy and I'm Randy Orton.
Yeah. Okay, so you okay.
You know, he just, there's a rut that he can't get out of. I still think that there's a couple of moves in his moveset that he should stop doing because he's a face, like the hanging DDT.
Or the punt kick?
The punt kick, yeah, I would agree with that one too, but it's the hanging DDT. It was awesome when he did it to Stephanie McMahon, and he did it to a few other times. The fact that he does it all the time now drives me insane.
Yeah.
But it was good to see Daniel Bryan to go against somebody else. And then, just as he's skedaddling out of the ring, avoiding RKOs.
Avoiding RKOs.
Because, let's be honest, that's what he was doing. Kane comes out and just fucking chokeslams the shit out of Orton. Welcome back, Randy. Welcome back. You know what? Great way to end the show, because there you go. There's another WrestleMania match you could set up.
Yeah.
Why? Because Kane just wants to fuck somebody up. But at least it works with Kane's character. Low point of the show, in my opinion, Big Show versus Mark Henry, because I just don't want to keep seeing that. Natalya farting to make Eve Torres sick was pretty funny. But then Eve Torres beat Natalya in a match. What else? Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler. Is it me? Or does even Sheamus seem a little dry lately? Like, there's no momentum for Sheamus. It seems, I mean, granted, this was a good match because it was back and forth, and you're working with Ziggler, who's got some skill. But Sheamus they don't seem to be pushing Sheamus in anything toward WrestleMania. He just seems to be there, and then he throws Daniel Bryan in a ring.
I think what Sheamus is suffering from so far, because I think you're right. I think he's just kind of,
they've got too many main events they're investing their time in that they're just not doing anything with Sheamus to properly build him for WrestleMania.
He's the victim of a card that's got that the WWE's invested too much in on some of the other matches, and so they don't really have time to push him.
Yeah, I mean, I expect the world title match to be the curtain jerker.
Which
at this
is sad.
point. It is. But, I mean, they did it last year with Edge and Del Rio.
Uh-huh.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that they're going to do it with Sheamus Daniel Bryan.
Right.
I'm not saying it won't be a good match, but with Jericho Punk, Triple H, Undertaker, Money in the Bank, and then Rock Cena, it's just, I can't see this not being the leadoff match. Unless they do Cody Rhodes Big Show.
Which is a possibility.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's pretty much SmackDown in a nutshell. I mean, everything else, I mean, you had Heath Slater and Santino Marella. Santino Marella wins. Who cares? In this match, because Heath Slater didn't even get music to come out to the ring.
Wow.
So, you knew he was losing. And when Santino came out, it's even that much worse. Although, I do like the fact that they're trying to push Santino. They're going to try and do something with him? Holy shit. That's pretty much SmackDown for you.
All right, well, speaking of pushing Santino, Kevin, on Raw, was there anything that happened that was worth discussing about Santino?
Absolutely nothing. I have no idea. No, I did. Yeah. I mean, Santino wins the U.S. title. Pretty big deal, and the crowd went berserk. I mean, you saw the crowd shot. It was great. Good for him. I just, I just don't see him as a credible champ. I mean, we've talked about there needs to be more credibility for faces in the mid-card. Maybe this is what they're trying. I still think there would be better options. Obviously, having Zack Ryder hurt isn't helping. But he's got the crowd support. I just don't think you can take him seriously. That's my opinion on Santino right now. But it erupted. They loved it. And that, to me, was the best part of the night. For not only the win, I thought the match was good, particularly, the interference from both sides. But, the interference from Laurinaitis and Teddy Long, too. I thought that was really that part of that match and the interference was, in my opinion, the highlight of the night. And, we talked for before they started this that both Laurinaitis and Teddy Long desperately needed something, and pretty amazing that they find it in each other. I mean, this feud is great right now. Ton of heat. Both guys are playing it extremely well. They're both doing a great job. Teddy Long seems to have a lot more confidence. It's almost like he finally found something that, I think he has this feeling like, hey, I found something that worked. I really needed it, and I think they're really feeding off each other. I think it's great, and I'm really impressed with what they're doing. Yeah, so I'm impressed. I'm really interested. I want to see how they have Laurinaitis hit back now. You have what Teddy Long did by kicking him out and embarrassing him and pushing him down. How does Laurinaitis come back? I'm really interested in this. I think it's good, and I'm glad these guys found something that worked for both of them.
Yeah, and just a note about that match. Connor from the OK Fabe show, who was on last week, he was actually there live, and he said the biggest pop of the night was the Santino match. By far, the crowd was 100% behind Santino winning. So definitely good to see a champion get that kind of response. But what else happened last night? Any highlights?
I mean, HBK, Triple H had their promo. We kind of already hashed that out. You have the Rock triple promo history lesson, which we all need a little history lesson in today's society of not teaching our kids anything. So I didn't have any problem with that, but I didn't think there was anything special on the promo side. Tag team match between Punk and Sheamus versus Jericho and Daniel Bryan. I mean, I get it because they're trying to save time, but really, I don't know. They have, like we said, and you guys are exactly right with the thing with Sheamus. They have so many other matches that he's kind of fallen by the wayside with any momentum they're trying to push. But it seems like the same thing here. It seems like they're trying to fit so much into the show that they had to shove these guys together for no reason. And I guess. Big Show beats The Miz. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. Kane, R-Truth, to build a match with Orton. I'm glad they're getting Kane in WrestleMania. I will say that. So I was happy that, that they're going to do something with him. But, the other big thing, obviously, was another showdown between Cena and The Rock.
Before you go on to that, Kev, Kane versus R-Truth. Now, I think the high point of that match was the R-Truth old school 80s video bit.
Yes.
During the match, right as the match is starting, they bring up that little square, and he's talking to the camera with a black background that they used to do in the 80s. But instead, he's like, wait a minute. Who am I talking to?
They also did that in WWE CW, which is great. I love those little segments because it gives you the voice of the character you're going to watch without any interruption, as far as time goes. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right, John Cena, The Rock. They had some taped segments throughout the night. First, what was your opinion about the taped segments before we get to the live segment?
Both were pretty lame. All the Rock's ones were meh. Like I said, I like the history lessons because I think that kids out there could probably use a little history lesson. But I think the segments themselves were lame. But here's the thing for the actual segment between the two of them that I found the most interesting. There was actually a pretty good reaction to Cena. I mean, they chanted Tooth Fairy at The Rock. So you have to wonder if the 2-minute beating that Cena put on him last week that we all agreed on, and David Gill said it best, you have to wonder if maybe that, got some people on Cena's side on this one. And it wasn't the 8-year-olds that were chanting Tooth Fairy. It was the 30-year-olds who typically hate him. You throw in the fact that it was in Boston. I mean, obviously that's close to Shrewsbury, real close to his home. But I don't think it could be all that. Boston's a tough town when it comes to wrestling. It's pretty similar to New York and being in Madison Square Garden where they're going to tell you how it is. So I that to me was the most interesting thing about the promo. And Cena just seemed like he was in the ring like, okay, I'm at the top of your game. I just own the best out there. And he just kind of seemed like he's like, that's what you got, that's what you got, that's what you got. I was like, yeah, he knows he just owned The Rock last week.
During those tape segments, it was obvious that the WWE was going out of their way to show very bored fans during The Rock segments. Yeah. So it's obviously that they're trying to steer the crowd to side more with Cena, and I think it's working, especially because you're right, Cena is killing it on the mic, and The Rock is not. He's failing. He's failing to continue the energy that he had coming out of last year's WrestleMania. The live chat, they mentioned that the highlight of the Big Show versus Miz match was the Miz has a new shirt. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but obviously it's apparently a big deal.
I fast forwarded because it was a Big Show versus Miz match. Sorry, Miz.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about as far as Raw goes?
Not by me.
Nope.
All right, we're going to go straight into quick hits, and hopefully we can do this pretty quickly. The first question. Oh, wait. Let me introduce Quick Hits. Quick Hits. Every person gets 30 seconds to say their point, and if there's time at the end, we will scream at each other because that's what we do. And really, it's more than 30 seconds because Harrison can't watch time properly. So, anyways, Quick Hits. Question number 1.
And sometimes we scream at each other whether we have time or not.
Yes. Despite Cena not embracing the hate, quote unquote, or coming out and openly attacking the fans or the faces, what a regular heel would do, can we all agree that he kind of sort of is the heel in all of this? That they're trying to build him as the heel? Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've taken Cena back to kind of what he started off as. He didn't have to attack the fans. He just came out and mocked the hell out of his opponent. I mean, and you saw flashes of that throughout this whole feud that's been going on before they made the match, and especially this last week, where where Cena stops and says, "Yeah, okay, I know my shirt and clothes look goofy and everything, but you know what? I still kicked your ass on the mic last week."
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously wanting him to be the heel if they want to classify someone as a heel. I don't think that's... Yeah, I mean, that's what they're going for. Cena's just too over with the younger generation to really have a really designated heel, in my opinion. But the way they want this to happen, yes, he's supposed to be the heel.
To me, the whole line's blurred at this point after Raw, because I thought Cena was going to be the heel because you're going to Rock's hometown for Rock and Rock's going to be the face. It's the fucking Rock. But no, after the way they're making Cena just make Rock look like a bitch, that line is very blurred. They're both kind of itching toward heel.
Yeah, I am having a hard time deciding at this point because you want to continue to hate Cena because that's what we've all decided as a collective to do. But The Rock is just not doing it. He's not giving you the material to think, yeah, this guy can probably win this match, or this guy is the better of the two. I'm finding myself unsure after every night. So, but yeah, Cena is definitely. It seems like they're trying to push him in that more Bret Hart style heel, where he's siding with his fans and he's just not saying anything negative about anyone else. So who knows? All right, next question. Vince Russo sent out an open letter saying he'd set the record straight in a shoot-style interview. Anyone interested in watching?
Nope. Not at all. I don't care about the backstage drama. Just fucking... Nobody cares about you, Vince Russo. Just go away. Just shoot.
The only shoot style interview I had any interest in watching was way back when TNA was still in the NWA TNA phase, and they had a special appearance by Roddy Piper where he went into a shoot on Vince Russo. That was awesome.
I agree. That was fantastic. That's what I was actually going to bring up too. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yes, I am interested in seeing this, and I disagree with you guys. I think Russo has earned the right to tell his story. He's one of the best. Yes, he should be gone. He's past his prime. But he's still arguably the best writer in the history of wrestling. So, yes, I think he deserves to tell a story. I think he deserves to tell it straight. And I would be interested in hearing this. I would watch it. And if he does put it out, I'm going to check it out and tell everybody what I think.
Okay, well, you're alone because I completely disagree. I think he had some great moments, but to say consistently he was the greatest writer ever, I think is not fair. No. Anyways,
accurate.
I suppose, yeah, it would be nice to hear his side of the story, considering that all we've ever heard is something negative said about him. Okay, next question. Brian on Facebook wants us to talk about Brodus Clay. I know, we're all tired about talking about Brodus Clay, considering he's been gone, for 2-3 weeks now. The major criticism that we all saw and that the internet kind of hopped on was that he just looked sloppy in the ring. But legitimately, was that enough to take him off of TV, considering how massive his pops had become so quickly in the life of the character? Rob?
Yeah. If his ring style is crappy and his ring work is not there, then yeah, they can totally justify it. I mean, it's not like the WWE is hurting for talent that can reach through and get reactions from the crowd. The WWE has more than enough talent that can do that. So if they decide somebody is on with the crowd but needs some more work, they can totally afford to send him back down to Florida.
They made the right move. We said he always had these short matches that didn't really prove anything. I mean, granted, he's still in the opening in the little montage, as are Smashing Mics. And no, but Brodus needs to work on his ring work. Okay, pull him off. When he comes back, it's going to be that much bigger pop.
But see, that's the problem that I have. Is you're exactly right. He only had 2-minute matches. How can you really show what you have in the ring? They say he's sloppy. He got a 2-minute freaking match. You can't do a bunch of moves in that kind of time. He got 3 things that he was able to do. I just, if they really thought it was that bad, but he was definitely over. I don't agree with it. And if that's the criticism that he looked sloppy in the ring, he got 1 freaking minute to squash somebody. Come on, it couldn't have been that sloppy. I disagree.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kevin. And let's look at this realistically. He was actually given 2 minutes, and 1.5 minutes of that was him dancing. So he had 30 seconds normally to put on a somewhat decent match, which involved 2 or 3 moves at best. So yeah, I disagree. I don't think that him being sloppy was enough to take him off of TV, considering the reaction. Because look at the great Khali. He still gets time, and he's probably one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen in the ring. Worst.
Yeah, that's a great point.
WWE needs to compete with TNA in India. Great Khali is the only thing they have that can allow them to do that. That is the only reason Great Khali still has a job.
I thought maybe Vince liked his curry recipe.
Well, there's that too.
Last question. Shannon Moore has decided to step away from wrestling to focus his attention on his outside business and family. He says he's not retiring. He just wants to take a step back and reevaluate himself. So, do you think that this is the end of him as a wrestler, or do you think that this is just the end of him being on TNA and just quickly getting out of his TNA contract?
No, I think he's pulling a Hardy, and it doesn't matter which Hardy, but he's taking some time off to go back to North Carolina so that he can maybe, I don't know, burn down a trailer and go to Denny's. I don't know. I think it's stupid for him to take the step away when he's actually got people who want to see him and a possible push somewhere in there. But if they're not going to use him, yeah, take the time, just go back home and do whatever your outside business is. Got a dime bag?
Kevin?
I think this is the last we'll see of him in TNA. I don't think this is the last we'll see of him, period. I think he stays on the indie circuit. But I don't think he had a big enough pool to where TNA would necessarily want him back. I think they could go in other directions. I wish Shannon Moore all the best. I always thought Ink was a pretty decent tag team. So I hope we see him on the indie circuit, and I hope he keeps it going.
Yeah, I think he's... I don't think we've seen the last of him. He might pop back up in TNA, but in all likelihood, he's probably done in TNA.
I think this is him getting out of TNA. It was obvious that he was unhappy there. They have a hard time of pushing people properly. It's just because they have so many people on the roster, and they're all doing completely different things, and then you only have 2 hours. So, yeah, I think this is probably him done with TNA. Could we see him in WWE with his current character? Most likely not. But there is that rumor that they are bringing a show dedicated to cruiserweights. Brian Kendrick was rumored to be a part of that, to Jerry. And maybe if that's a legitimate thing, we could also see Shannon Moore there. So... all right, let's go to the undercard real quickly. Is TNA in danger of being canceled? That's what was implied during a PW Torch interview last week with a Spike TV rep. Apparently, there are many discussions within Spike to either change the show altogether or boot it from the network. This is because TNA has reached the golden 1 million viewers each week. The problem is that they've plateaued there. They haven't gained anyone, they haven't lost anyone, and there's no growth. So knowing that TNA is the top show on Spike TV, many are saying, it's unlikely that they'll boot them altogether unless Spike TV rebrands, which is another rumor that we've all heard. Kim on Facebook, she said perhaps they would gain if they would just stop talking so much. She wants to see more match related activity. Something that they used to do back, before Spike TV or even before Hogan. The entire Impact Wrestling Facebook group blew up on this topic, basically attacking everyone. Spike TV, the rep, the person doing the interview, saying it's completely crap and that it would be a major mistake for Spike TV to cut ties with the program. Rob, just real quick, your thoughts on this. Do you think that TNA is in danger of being canceled?
Not unless Spike is looking to go out of business. Like you said, it's their top program. They've got nothing on their network that brings in anywhere near the viewership that TNA does.
Next topic in the undercard, The Miz has lost a lot of matches lately. I believe the John Report counted 9 straight losses on TV. Do you guys consider this a burial of The Miz? Real quickly. Joe.
Maybe to an extent, but I think that they've got to be doing something with him begging for these WrestleMania matches. There's got to be something there. It could be the lowering of the character to give the character something to build up to. Maybe he's gonna turn face soon. Who knows? But I think they're doing this for a reason. They're taking some of that edge away from him for a reason.
Anyone think that he's not being buried here?
No, I think he is, but guys have to take time where they're going to take a back seat and lose matches to other people. But Joe makes a good point. Maybe it's a face turn. They got several big heels that they're looking at right now, so maybe they want him for a face turn.
Sure. The live chat all is saying that The Miz is being buried. Everyone on Twitter and Facebook that we asked, they all say he is being buried. But I have one point. A burial, and I think it was Shane Helms said this. He said, if you're being buried, that means you're not on TV. And Miz is on TV every week. He is in a high-profile situation. Just because he's not winning doesn't necessarily mean he's being buried or mistreated. He still has a lot of eyes on him. So I definitely think this is building to something more, like Joe said, and at least hopefully. I think for this to be considered a burial, I think is a mistake.
Yeah, I mean,
in the technical sense of a burial, Garvin, you're right. But burial's become more of a term synonymous with losing a bunch of matches in a row. But in the long run, you are correct.
Maybe I can see Garvin's reasoning here. I mean, let's not forget Tommy Dreamer. Gets a lot of respect in the professional wrestling business. He did a lot to move it forward. He lost matches all the time, right, left, and center. So you can lose. So I understand where Garvin's coming from by saying you can lose matches and not really have it be a burial, have it moving your character forward or something.
Yeah, I think what people forget is that there's only so many wrestlers that you can push at one time, that can win week in and week out. There has to be a good fall guy to every single match. And to say Miz is in the doghouse, that's what's being said in the live chat. I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. I think this is actually a good situation for the Miz. Yeah, of course, he'd like to be in the WrestleMania main event, but at the same time, it's not like he's not getting that TV time.
Good call.
Okay, let's move on. Like I said earlier tonight, we got 2 questions concerning the WrestleMania 28 card. So let's just briefly talk about the card in general. So far, scheduled John Cena versus The Rock. Undertaker versus Triple H, Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, CM Punk versus Chris Jericho. I believe it was made official finally that Cody Rhodes would be defending the Intercontinental Championship against Big Show. That was on SmackDown, wasn't it, Joe?
I'm sorry, say that again?
That Cody Rhodes would be defending the Intercontinental Championship against Big Show?
Yes.
So those are the official matches so far. There's also rumors about the Money in the Bank match being brought back just for WrestleMania. Obviously, we saw some teasing of an Orton versus Kane on Raw. And now that Santino has the U.S. Championship, maybe there's a rematch there for Swagger. Maybe they involve Atunga and Laurinaitis and make it a six-man tag team match, kind of filler type situation. So Heel Zahir, he sent us an email. You can follow him on Twitter at Heel Zahir. He said, "I'd love for you guys to discuss the WrestleMania 28 card and how you guys would put each confirmed match in order. Would you put Rock, Cena before Taker or after Taker and Triple H?" Joe?
That makes it very difficult only because of the cell. But I'm going to say that Rock Cena is going to close the show. I would put the Hell in a Cell before that.
Same here. I think Cena versus Rock is the last match of the card.
Yeah, I agree. This is the match they've been building. It's going to be the last one. I would have 20-0 at the end, but I don't have any doubt that Cena and Rock's going to be at the end.
What do you guys see in opening up?
I already stated that that's going to be the world title. But I want to jump right back to Raw. I know this, it's a little crazy for me to do this, but Kevin, do you think that the Hell in a Cell match is completely overbooked at this point?
No, and my main reason for that is we haven't seen a lot of Taker. Obviously, they said Taker's going to be back next week.
No, but I mean,
to give his side, but I don't think so.
Even though not only are they doing, Triple H versus Taker for the third time, now they've made it a gimmick match with Hell in a Cell, and then they added HBK as a special guest referee. I mean, the only thing they need to do is make it also a bra and panties match, and I think you can really just push this one and have like 50 run-ins, and it'll be like, I don't know, a debacle. I was going to make a joke about it being a TNA match, but that'd be over the top for a lot of the TNA stuff. And Rob, don't give me shit. TNA does do a lot of overbooking with run-ins. I'm just going to say it.
All right. Point. I don't think so. It's a fair point.
To answer Garvin's question, if Santino versus Swagger for the U.S. Championship becomes an official match, I would have that as the show opener. Otherwise, I would have Cody Rhodes versus Big Show for the opening to the show.
Yeah, and back to piggyback on that, just so I can answer the question. I think it'll end up being Bryan and Sheamus unless they have a Money in the Bank match. If they do have Money in the Bank, I think they would start off with that. I think it would really get people energized for the pay-per-view, and I think it'd be a good start.
Yeah, the live chat is saying that the Rock and Cena match is obviously the final match. Hell in a Cell should be second to last, and possibly Punk versus Y2J in the middle. So I think, personally, I think it would be great to see like a Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, like you said, Joe, to open up. I think that's a great match to put at the very beginning, just because realistically, you have 4 to 5 matches that can be really fantastic when you look at it. I mean, this is shaping up to be an epic card, on paper at least. So Kevin Nash tweeted that he'd be at WrestleMania 28, knowing the involvement with HBK now in the Hell in a Cell match. What do you guys expect to come from him being there? Is he going to get involved?
Yes.
No.
Which equals more overbooking.
I don't think he'll get involved. I think he's just tweeting that to say he's going to be there. And I don't think they're going to do anything with it.
Kevin?
I think there's a possibility he gets involved. And go away, Nash. Don't get involved in 20-0.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would be a good idea to do that, but I'm not saying I don't want to see Kevin Nash back. I really loved the storyline that they were building between Nash and Triple H. I don't think it should be over because we still have to find out who lowered the cage. And I think that's a step towards doing that. I think that's a storyline that they need to show a resolution for. But maybe that's just me. All right, last question. This was sent in from Greg on Facebook. He asked, was a year-long build of Rock versus Cena good for business? And specifically good for this match in general?
I don't think so, because if you look back on it, I think The Rock especially, but Cena too, I think they threw a lot of their good promo material. I think they wasted a lot of that very early on. And then it's just, The Rock has definitely run out of gas. Cena's still going strong, but Cena had some of his best stuff like way months ago. And The Rock just ran out of gas. So I don't think it's been good for the WWE at all.
Joe?
I don't think so. Because really, aside from doing like the initial thing last year, and then nothing picked up until like Survivor Series. So really, I think it was a waste. It was an interesting attempt, but I don't think it's going to work out to the full fruition. Because right now, those guys seem stale and like they're not really sure what the fuck they're doing, or at least promo wise. And really, Rock hasn't been in a ring yet. What the fuck?
Well, SummerSlam.
Okay, come on. That was on the whole a weak performance here.
All right, Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it's helped either. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that The Rock hasn't been there, and you guys make great points. The promos have gotten worse as the year has gone on. It seems like they used everything up beforehand. Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think it helped that much either, considering The Rock wasn't there on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and the live chat is agreeing. Rock versus Cena was more interesting a year ago, and I have to agree with that as well. The problem, the major problem that I have here is that it's going back and forth. 1 week you'll hear from one person, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later you'll hear from another person. There's not enough interaction between the two to make me interested in this. For sure, I'm interested now. I think, when they're both on Raw, like they were last week, when they were on the week before, I was really interested. My wrestling fan strings were being tugged as I was trying to figure out who to back. But outside of that, we need more interaction between the two, and they need to continue doing that. From now on.
Yeah. I mean, when you've got like a week or two break before the other guy response, the promo seems really, really fake, because I mean, then it's taking the other guy 2 or 3 weeks to come up with a response, and when you're trying to build excitement for a match, you need quicker stuff than that. Ideally, you want something like you had with like Cena Punk, where they're sitting across the ring exchanging jabs with each other.
All right. Enough WrestleMania 28 talk. We have 3 weeks to go, 4 weeks to go, somewhere around there. Let's do it. Win, fail. What are your wins of the week, Kevin?
My win of the week is the Laurinaitis Teddy Long feud. I think it's getting really good. I'm just impressed with both guys, and like I said, they both really needed something, and they found it in each other. I think it's getting really good. I'm interested to see how Laurinaitis punches back and hopefully keeps the heat going. So good for both of them. They needed it, and they've done a great job.
Joe, your wins of the week.
My win of the week is Santino Marella winning the U.S. title. It's good for them to get it off Swagger where it was stale. into a character that seems to actually have an upswing going on right now, in something that we have all been saying we kind of want to see. So, good move.
Gotta say, Joe, I'm a little surprised it's not Broski over Hosky. I thought that was a lock.
No, that line was used previously. It faded out.
Even still. Thought it was a lock.
Although I do
That's
want to throw props to Twitter, because as soon as Zack Ryder came out to talk shit to Eve, I was like, I just tweeted, I'm like, business has just picked up. Woo, 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 you know it? And I think it was Greg who came back and said, and he's gone. Business has just ended.
Yeah, I do think that was Greg that said that. Rob, your win of the week?
My win of the week is going to go to TNA. Over the last pretty much this entire year, they started off kind of slow, but it seems like every week TNA is getting better and better. They're starting to do a lot of the stuff that we've been saying we've wanted them to see done, and I think, holding steady at 1 million viewers a week, I don't think that's bad at all, and I think they're going to find a way to start increasing viewership. Yeah,
By far, I think TNA continues to go in the right direction. The live chat is saying a major win goes to Velvet Sky, both in the ring and for her TNA shop commercial.
Yes, definitely. I will agree with the chat room on that.
I definitely like the attitude that Velvet Sky had this week, and I would love to give my win to Santino, but I really cringed at how they accomplished it. I like everything going on in that situation, but I think it was obvious what they were about to do. So my win goes to TNA, specifically because my wife, who hates TNA and hates the fact that I force her to watch TNA every week, she actually thought it was a good show. And that is something she has never said before.
Well, see, there you go.
She said Robert Roode was great on the mic, and Austin Aries looks pretty cool. Those are like I was flabbergasted. Because usually she's harping on Sting because he looks like the Joker. But anyways, your fails of the week, Rob. Let's go in reverse order. Go ahead.
My fail of the week is going to have to go to the fact that they are overbooking Taker versus Triple H by putting in HBK as a special guest referee and kind of pushing tension between Triple H and HBK. It just leads me to that creeping suspicion that, hey, I was right and that this match is going to be god-awful.
Joe?
My fail of the week is Triple H's contract.
It's Triple H's contract.
Well, no. I mean, WWE published their 10K report for 2011. It includes a wrestling contract with Triple H. The new contract went into effect at the beginning of the year, expires on March 30th, 2016, and he'll be like 46. He'll receive a minimum annual compensation of $1 million for each year under contract. He's limited to 180 dates per year unless both parties mutually agree to extend beyond that number. And then he cannot work or perform in any capacity for martial arts organization while under contract. That's fine. But really, he's limited to 180 dates?
I think what surprises me most about that contract is he's only making $1 million a year.
Per year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how much is his wife making? You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, this is a wrestling contract. This doesn't include his other contract where he is in the creative process. That's a separate contract altogether.
Sure.
So, I mean, that just spits on a lot of guys, in my opinion. If he's making money with the other contract, they don't necessarily need to hold him to this high of a contract, and then you've got guys that are going to push out.
But what's not always public knowledge is what everyone else is making.
Right. I mean, that's true. But $1 million, there's a lot of guys who are making like 50, 60.
All right, Kevin, your fail?
My fail is Spike even thinking about canceling TNA. If they've watched the product lately, yes, it's been very good and a lot better. And when you're drawing 1 million viewers on a cable show, you don't cancel it. If anything, they should be talking about extending that contract and upping it, because other networks are going to get the fuck on board to get TNA to be on their network if they're drawing 1 million viewers. So, not a good idea by Spike. I don't care if you're rebranding. Look how it's worked out for USA. They took all that money and made some really, really good shows that a lot of people watch and are award-winning. So maybe take a cue from them and not cancel your best show.
All right, the live chat is saying the fact that Natty is still farting. I guess that's still a big issue. Also, that Drew McIntyre is still being quote-unquote buried. People would like to see him pushed in some capacity. I remind you...
That's coming, that's coming, folks. Seriously, that's coming.
I remind you, the live chat, he is on TV, therefore he's not buried. Buried would be he's on NXT.
True.
Okay. My fail of the week actually goes back to TNA. I hate the fact that they partnered up Austin Aries, Robert Roode, probably the best combination I've seen in TNA in a long time, and they had them look horrible against Sting in the segment at the end of the first hour on Impact. First of all, I hate the fact that Sting is in the main event at Victory Road against Robert Roode. I don't think he belongs there. And I don't like the fact that, again, despite them pushing Austin Aries in the main event, which we all love, they are still making him look worse than Sting. It doesn't make sense to me. All right, those were your wins and fails of the week. Some quick announcements before we close up. Once again, this week we're looking for your nominations for the worst wrestling staff members of all time. We got some nominations for Vince Russo. We got some nominations that we were sent on Facebook for Eric Bischoff. Send them all. Owners, general managers, writers, commentators. If they're on camera or off camera, the people who can be considered staff in some capacity, send those. We'll announce those nominations next week, and the official inductions will happen during our live WrestleMania 28 special on Saturday, March 31st at 3 p.m. Eastern here on ftwpodcast.com/live. Also, not sure if everyone knew this or not, but we do have a pretty active YouTube account. You can reach it at youtube.com/the FTW podcast. There we have a lot of our previous episodes in full, as well as an easier to digest bite-sized segments of each question asked in quick hits or any relevant news items. And it's always nice to hear just what our wins of the week are. We also have some new exclusive content on there, including our new Saturday program, Shotgun Saturday Afternoon. So far, there's been 2 released. One with Harrison 2 weeks ago. Last week, there was an interview released with Connor from the OK Fabe show. This week, we have another one coming. It's a 5-minute interview. You have 5 questions. Really a rapid fire session, and the best part is the person who is answering the questions is not prepared. So it gives you a real honest look of what people are thinking about the product that we're talking about. So speaking of our YouTube channel, coming soon is the very first episode of the FTW Roundtable. We're currently working on a final guest list and topic list, of course, but expect to see the likes of Connor from the OK Fabe show, Scott from Lethal Injection podcast, Mike from PW Torch, guys who have been on the show or who have really been great assets to the show on Facebook and Twitter. We're really opening it up. So if you want to be a part of the future roundtables or even Shotgun Saturday Afternoon, it's free for you guys to get involved. So just let us know. We're also still in the planning phases of this roundtable, so if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss, just let us know. And that's it. Those are all the announcements. Question of the week. Obviously, the big news story this week was Santino winning the U.S. Championship. I think that's what got a lot of the conversation on Twitter and Facebook. So the question is, where does Santino go from here, and will he hold the title through WrestleMania? We were talking about this in the live chat. Obviously, we were talking about it in the show, but the live chat said, despite the feeling that, the U.S. Championship is being put on a guy who might not deserve it or is kind of floundering as of late, this could actually give him something to build off of. So hopefully, I think the live chat is all pulling for Santino. We're all pulling for Santino. So, yeah, again, the question of the week, where does Santino go from here? Will he hold the title through WrestleMania? What do you see happening?
Just as long as we don't have to go through the same thing he did when he had the Intercontinental Championship, and every week he'd come out and do the countdown about how he was approaching the Honky Tonk Man's...
that was awesome. Shut your mouth.
It was awesome, and thank you for reminding me. It was brought up to us on, I think, Twitter last night, that it would be great if he then brought out the Luger countdown for the U.S. Championship. So, I don't know. So anyways, in closing, as always, you can find this episode as well as our entire archive at ftwpodcast.com. You can also reach us at facebook.com/FTWpodcast, twitter.com/FTWpodcast, youtube.com/the FTW Podcast, voicemail. You can leave us a voicemail, 313-444-FTW4. That's 313-444-3894. We also can be reached at questions at ftwpodcast.com if you like email, if you still do that. And please rate us on iTunes. We love to hear your feedback. RKO Voices in the live chat said the Luger meter might have been him that said it. But anyways, anything else you guys want to say before we head out?
Nope.
See ya.
That's the show. Have a good night, everyone.
Later, bitches.